Good morning, everyone. It is March Madness Day, Thursday, March 19th of 2026, and this is from the Press Box on the Right Team podcast. I am David Weaver, host of the Right Team, and I'm, as always, with my good friend and co-host, the pastor of Friendship Baptist Church, also the sports director of KMHT 103.9, the heartbeat of East Texas and Marshall, Texas, Matt Paul. Matt, how are you doing this morning?
Doing well. It's kind of like Christmas, so I'm excited.
Were you able to sleep at all last night?
Wednesday nights at church are hard. I slept good.
It's like, we're talking about Christmas morning, and then you get Christmas night where you get to go to sleep, right?
Yes.
We're very fortunate, excited today to have a very special guest with us, a real live Arkansas Razorback himself, Matt's firstborn, Andrew Paul. Andrew, welcome to the show, my man.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Andrew literally just drove in late last night and got here from Fayetteville just for the show, right?
Yep.
In March Madness. So we're happy to have you here. Okay, as we've been talking about this week, these two, this is going to be the easiest podcast I've ever had because I'm just going to sit back and let father and son, as they normally do, probably off camera for several years, probably most of your life, huh, Andrew? Kind of go back and forth here and debate this bracket way better than I could at all. So I'm just going to kind of sit back and just kind of lead them through the bracket and then turn them loose on you guys. The only thing I say that you guys keep it civil and don't embarrass us here, because when we get through with this and March Madness is over, you guys are still going to be father and son. We want to make sure we get that right. So that's the rules I'm putting on you guys. All right, but since we do have just one big segment on our show today, before we dive in, we do want to thank our sponsors who help make it all possible. Proudly serving East Texas from offices in Longview and Mount Pleasant, Stiles Electric has delivered reliable professional electrical services for more than 25 years. From school districts and universities to civic organizations and commercial projects across the region, Stiles is proud to power the projects that help East Texas grow and thrive. When quality workmanship and trusted experience matter, choose Stiles Electric, service that speaks for itself. Also, the show is sponsored by East Texas Baptist University, located in Marshall, Texas, which offers a university experience built on academic excellence, nationally known athletics, and a strong foundation of faith and community. It's a place where students are challenged every day to grow, lead, and serve. Learn more about life on the Hill in Marshall at etbu.edu. And finally, from professional writing and editing to website content, social media, and grant writing, Right Team Services works with schools, businesses, and nonprofits to communicate their message clearly and effectively. If you need words that work for you, trust Right Team Services to help you find your voice. Learn more today at rightteamservices.net about how we can help you tell your story. Okay, guys, let's jump into this thing. And again, I want to guide you through the brackets. we're going to start in the East and then just kind of let you guys talk about your thoughts on the bracket. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start with, of course, number one Duke in Siena, which is actually tipping off later this afternoon. That's a 1 versus 16, of course.
I don't have a lot of depth on this one. This is look, Duke is
behind.
Yeah, Duke is. If you're wanting to pick a bracket, if you're able to catch this before it happens, there's, in my mind, Andrew and I are going to differ on how many different teams probably can win this. We're both going to agree Duke's one of them who can. This is an easy money Duke to beat Siena, and I don't expect it to be competitive.
The only thing I will say with this one is I would expect Duke to have a little I don't expect it to be competitive, but Duke is also battling through some injuries right now. And these are going to be some of the earlier games when they've had to work through these injuries. So it could be one of those things where the game, every year we get one of those 116 games where about 8 minutes in, we're all kind of like, wait a minute, is it going to happen? And it never does. Well, it has, but I could see this being one of those games where Duke kind of starts a little slow and everyone kind of gets that little nervous excitement, but it's just Duke's. They have, two of their starters, one of them's for sure out, another one's nursing injuries right now. I could see this game being a little of a slower start, but yeah, it shouldn't. That's more of an issue for Duke and later on in the rounds.
Jack here, because I'm like everyone else. You either love Duke or you hate Duke. There is no in between. I saw them early in the year play Texas, and I believe I told you then, Matt, I thought they may be the national champion. Now they were fully healthy and all that, and I agree with what Andrew's saying. And I believe they may actually have maybe the best player in the country in Cam Boozer. I know you guys at Arkansas might disagree with that, and I do believe he's really good. But as long as they have Cam Boozer healthy, they got a shot to run this thing. So I agree with you guys there. It's a 27.5 point spread on that, and I believe Duke should reach that, even as depleted as they are health wise. Okay, all right. The 8-9 matchup under Duke and Siena here in the bracket is Ohio State as the number 8 seed and 9 TCU.
Andrew, I'll defer to you. It's a good matchup. I can't wait for this one.
I'm pretty high on TCU in this one. TCU has 2 wins recently. A win, well, they won against Iowa State earlier in the year, and it was at home, but it was a really good win for them. And then they recently just beat Texas Tech on the road. And I know Texas Tech's without JT Toppin right now, but that's a Texas Tech team who right before that walked into Iowa State and whooped their butt. Texas Tech's a real team, even without Toppin, and TCU in their stadium beat them. And Ohio State, they're a good team. They had a win over Wisconsin, but Wisconsin's kind of they play up to who they play down to who they play, and at that point Ohio State was a fringe bubble team. So that in that specific game they were playing down, in my opinion. I don't know. Ohio State's seated higher, but I like TCU in that one.
Yeah, I mean it's an 8-9 game, right? If you're definitive about an 8-9 game as far as look, this team doesn't have a chance, then obviously you're not really paying attention. So what I'm about to say could certainly see TCU win this. I'm in Ohio State's corner on this because they finally got over a hump. Ohio State has not just been on the bubble for like a few weeks. They've been on the bubble for a few years, it feels like, just waiting to get in. And there's one dude, Bruce Thornton, their guard, who has just been their guy for multiple years and has never been able to break through. He finally got them there. They went from we're a bubble team to we're on the 8-9 line now because of the way they finished. Thornton averaging 21 points a game, and I love good guards in March. So I got Ohio State in that one.
Okay, yeah, I'll just interject here too. I think I filled out 4 brackets on ESPN, and I think I've split this one 2 and 2 on both of them. I think it could go either way, but I agree with you guys. It just depends on who shows up. But I think either one of these could really win this one and go into the second round. Where I have to just also interject here that I don't think it matters. I think Duke wins that one too, right? So but anyway, all right, let's go on down the bracket here. You got 5 seed St. John's, number 12, Northern Iowa. And I'm telling you, I'm interested to see as we go through this, which one of you is going to pick the 5-12 matchup.
Yeah.
This one?
It's not going to be this one for me. Love Northern Iowa, and I know you probably hate them the last time they played Texas in the tournament, David. But
you keep bringing that up.
I know, but it's one of those moments. It's not because it's Texas. It's because it's what makes March Madness so great. But St. John's, I really feel like, first of all, Pitino is who he is. I feel like St. John's arrived a little too early last year. They earned a 2 seed. Really did not match up well with Arkansas at all in the second round. I feel like now they're Big East regular season champs, they're Big East tournament champs, and they only get a 5. And I think that's where I had them. So I'm not saying they're wrong to be a 5, but you can play that card. You can put that chip on your shoulder, even if it's not a real chip. You factor in Pitino, and I just think their talent level is that much better. And I'm going to take St. John's in this one. I'm not going for the 12 in this one.
Yeah, I have St. John's winning here and the next round, actually. But, a lot of people are really high on St. John's right now because, they played a very, very good Big East schedule. They beat UConn twice, including in the Big East championship, or conference championship. But, looking into it, like St. John's is one of those teams that thrives in that like gummed down, ugly basketball game. Yeah. And they thrive in that. And I don't think in the Northern Iowa game that's going to matter. And I'm not very high on Kansas, so I don't even think it may matter in that game. But I don't like that style of basketball. You don't really see that succeed in March. That's not what works. Like now it can if you do it perfectly. You watched Virginia a couple years ago win a championship doing it. The year before though, they lost to the 1 seed. So you you can win in March like that, but that's just not a recipe for success in March. So I think in this game, and like I said, maybe even the next one, their talent and the fact that Patino is on the sideline will carry them to it. But St. John's isn't a team I have, unlike a lot of people, because I just that style of basketball, it just makes it so easy that if you decide to have an off night, like because you're only going to score 60 points. So if you have an off night, then all of a sudden you're scoring 48. Like, and it's just that's not a recipe for success in March, in my opinion.
And they don't have a dude who can go get buckets consistently.
No,
and you gotta have a dude. Yeah.
And not to get ahead of ourselves, but that's what Houston is. They play that ugly, attacking, like make them call, but then they have Kingston Flemings out there who, like, you can give them the ball and be like, hey, go score for us. They have Chris Sinat down low who he can post up and go get a bucket. So you have to have a guy like that. And they have a good big, but in an ugly gum down game, typically those are a lot more physical. And when your big is the guy that you have to give the ball in a physical game, he's going to get hacked. And then you're putting the ball in the whistle or the ball in the ref's hand. And that's just, you want that in March. And so I have them in this game, but they're not a team I look to succeed.
Basically what you're saying is you have Duke already in the Elite Eight.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we're all saying that here. You mentioned Kansas, of course, the 4 seed going up against number 13, California Baptist. What do you guys think about that? When Matt and I have talked about Kansas kind of ad nauseum over the last couple of 3 weeks, we're not really big believers. I do have some friends who are dead set Jayhawks, Rock Chalk, all that good stuff, KU, and it's sickening. But they seem to think that if they can get to the Sweet 16, they'll be a Final Four team.
I've watched a lot of Kansas this year. They have the pieces that they can go. I mean, I've watched them whoop Houston. I've watched them like they're a good basketball team. They beat Arizona back-to-back big Mondays by them. The thing with them is they'll do that, but they're inconsistent. When you have a star player in Darren Peterson, who every once in a while hits this and then gets subbed out of the game. And I know this is March, so you can make the case that, maybe he's been saving for this. I believe he's been saving for the NBA, and we're not there yet. So it might be the same case scenario that you have to see that many games in a row for them. It's just, that's not. And if you have it beside you, what is the spread in that game?
The spread of that game is KU by 14.5.
I like California Baptist to cover that one. I don't know if you remember a couple years ago with Samford, kind of a similar situation here. And I know that was Bucky Ball, the guy at A&M now, who's a very successful coach. But I've watched a lot of Cal Baptist. They kind of play those 9 o'clock games, 10 o'clock games, and nothing else is on. So then you watch it, and they're again. I don't think I can go as far as to say they're going to win the game, but this is the one that, like, if California Baptist were to beat them, I don't think I'd be sitting there shocked by it.
Now, your dad will understand this when I say, because he'll know and laugh at me. But up until this bracket came out, I didn't even know there was a California Baptist. Is this their first tournament appearance, or have I just missed it?
And I think this is it.
They might be one of those schools that went by something else in the 90s who has some tournament appearances, but they're
and you guys know I'm as Baptist as they come. Hey, you all say, baby, but I'm not picking Kansas or California Baptist to beat Kansas in the first round. I don't care how bad Kansas is. ESPN actually gives them. The matchup predictor gives them a 7.4% chance. I'm wondering, my gosh, where does that come from?
Yeah, I'm taking Kansas. This is probably the one pick that I would just love to get wrong.
Yeah.
I would love to see it. But I'm taking Kansas, and I'm with Andrew. It sounds like we're both leaning St. John's in the next game, but then running into Duke. It sounds like that's where we're both going.
Okay. All right. Staying in the East, we're down into the bottom half of the bracket now with number 6 Louisville taking on number 11 South Florida. I'm very interested to hear you guys take on this particular matchup. So this is Louisville's 4.5-point favorite.
This one, when this first came out, this was everyone's upset game, taking South Florida against Louisville. Everyone's upset, and I was adamantly against that. I'm like, South Florida is an athletic team, a good team. I watched Louisville play in Bud Walton this year. They are also a good team. And I was adamant that this is the one that every year there's some game everyone hypes up, like take them. And then they just lose by 25 points. And, but then Wednesday morning, Mikel Brown gets announced out for the weekend. and that offense runs through him. That changes everything about this one. I mean, that's their guy, that's their lottery pick, and that changes me to go back to South Florida, go against everything I thought at the beginning when the bracket was announced. The only underlying factor is he has missed extended time this season already, so it's not like Louisville hasn't gone without playing with him. So I have South Florida winning, but Louisville, this is not as big of a blow to them because they've already played without him, but I think it'll be enough to let South Florida get by them.
For me, and I'm actually in the same boat. For me, this was about that injury to Mikael Brown. To me, kind of made it clear that I was moving Michigan State. That's who we're going to talk about next into the Sweet 16 because I've gone back and forth on this. I originally was South Florida. I did a little dive into Louisville. You know, I'm into the metrics and the analytics, and Louisville actually has offensive and defensive efficiency that is within the parameters of what a typical Final Four team is.
They're in that trap.
So, yeah, that trapezoid of excellence thing. And so I was like, you know what? I need to look into Louisville as a deeper run team. And then this news broke, and I was already high on South Florida. And in fact, metrically, these two teams are not that far apart. They're really pretty close. So with the news that Andrew just mentioned there, I had decided once I heard that I was going South Florida as well.
Interesting. I think we're all three picking that one as an upset. Our first one of the bracket here.
Well, that's
That
a
is a game
guarantee
that-
Louisville's winning then, since we all
We'll
three
know that
picked.
pretty soon here. It's at the 12:30 time window here on
Yeah.
the bracket, so it happens pretty quick. Michigan State, the number 3 seed, against number 14 North Dakota State.
Michigan State.
That's Michigan State.
Okay.
I don't see Izzo losing this game. So
This isn't football, right?
Cohen Carr might be
Give
the
North
most
Dakota
athletic.
State a puncher's chance if it were a football game. But
Cohen Carr might be the most athletic man on the planet. There won't be anyone on North Dakota State that can rebound, defend, box out, anything with him.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. This is another interesting game here. Number 7 UCLA against number 10 UCF, Central Florida.
Go ahead, Andrew.
I got Central Florida in this one. UCLA has come along here at the end. You know, they had a big win against Michigan State in the Big 12, they had a big win against Michigan State in the Big 10 tournament. But I don't know. Central Florida just has some wins under their belt that I mean, they beat Texas Tech at home early. It was earlier in the season. I mean, you make two cases. It's earlier in the season, but it was with Toppin. So the fact that it was earlier in the year, in this case, I think actually helps them because it was the fully healthy Texas Tech team. They beat them, and they led that game almost wire to wire. And then they also here more recent on the road at BYU, again, just a complete dismantle of BYU. And so I don't know. Central Florida, I think, is a team that I like a lot. Now, not to go too far in it because they have a team I have very far coming up next. But in this first round game, I like Central Florida a lot in this one.
Yeah, I went UCLA. Metrically, they're a better defense and they're a better offense. UCLA had some wins. I mean, Central Florida did too, but UCLA, I mean, they got wins over Michigan State and Purdue and Illinois. I really like a lot of those were in February and March. I have always liked Mick Cronin, but he's always been at a team where it's like, you know, he's going to get not the top tier of athletes, and he's just going to coach them up, and they're going to scrap, and they're going to fight, and they're going to turn things into a rock fight and hope they can be successful. And he pulled it off for a while, but you know, you go to UCLA, you can get a higher caliber of athlete. And I feel like they were squarely on the bubble in probably early to mid-February, and really kind of like what I talked about with Ohio State, went on a run until suddenly they're a 7 seed. I like their point guard. Some people like to say he's the best point guard in the country. I'll give him third best. I'm not going to go beyond that, but love guard play. So, and he's healthy. So I'm taking UCLA.
Okay, this one ought to be a short one too. Number 2 UConn against number 15 Furman. The Huskies come into this one as 20.5 point favorites. That might be a little low.
The thing about Furman is they're not going to win this game. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, they're
You give them a puncher's chance, Andrew.
UConn's winning this game, and I'll go as far as to say winning the East region.
Ooh, we've already reached the Final Four in the East.
Yeah, no, that's what I know. We're just talking first round, but I know we're just talking first round.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
we're just talking first round, and you can.
Cat's already out of the bag, man. He's already went all the way.
Yeah,
to the Final
I got Duke winning this region. I actually got UCLA beating UConn in the next round, so we'll see what happens there.
Oh man, that's where we're going. We've talked a lot and a lot we've agreed on. That's the one thing that I just can't get on board with.
Yeah,
I think if you're going to decide to fade Hurley in March in an early exit like that, that's just a really, really bold take right there. And UConn, we talked earlier about St. John's, and their success in the Big East, and UConn struggled in the Big East where there's a gummed down game. Like that's the Big East ball. It's a lot the way St. John plays, and they struggle with that. Well, you're not going to see a lot of that in March. That's not what you see in March. That's just the reality of it. And when you go back and look at non-conference play, whenever they're seeing more teams like the teams you're going to see in March to make a run, UConn excelled. And so I know that's further away, but that's more the type of team you see in March. Like the way Marquette plays basketball, I know that's a bad loss and there's no way around it, but the way they play basketball is not like the way that the teams in March Madness play basketball. And so if you want to go out there and say they lost to Marquette, that's fine. But when you look at the teams that they're going to play to make the run, they beat them, and they've done it to a lot of teams. And so the flip side, St. John's non-conference, the teams that they played against the way it is in March, they lost to a lot of them. And for a time, I think every SEC statement win was St. John's. That's
that's funny.
But
I think this region boils down to the fact that there is no question which region has the most elite coaching. I mean, it's this one. I mean, you've got John Shire.
The very first thing we talked about Monday, if you remember, Matt.
Yes, you've got Hurley, you've got Shire, Hurley, Izzo, Self, Patino, and here's the thing: in a normal year, like Mick Cronin would be like the fourth best coach in a typical region, and he's like the sixth or seventh best coach. Like somebody's going to beat somebody in this region. Like that's my whole thing on it. Like somebody's going to beat somebody. And I think where I boiled down to it is once I looked at having Michigan State in the Sweet 16 and I was really debating UCLA and UConn. And this is Andrew and I kind of do this the same, I think, in our bracket sometimes. I liked Michigan State to get by UConn. So I was like, if I already am going to pick that and I'm kind of on the fence about UConn, UCLA, why not take the upset and maybe you gain some points there? So that's kind of where I was. But look, this region is brutal and somebody's going to beat somebody that's going to make you kind of go, because there's too many good coaches in it.
Yeah, but talking about a brutal region, I don't think there's anyone more fit to get through a brutal region than Hurley. That's like the March playing these games in back-to-back days with short preparation is his bread and butter. We watched it 2 years ago when 2 years ago and 3 years ago, we watched it where he had a good squad. He played a good stretch of teams. In the year, I think he was a 4 or 5 seed in the first one. I mean, and he played good teams in all of them. There was no like, oh, he got a 12 seed, then a 16 or a 13 seed, and then a 9 seed. He played good teams. There's no one more fit to prepare on a Thursday into a Saturday or Friday into a Sunday than Dan Hurley. And I think when you look at a region like this, like that's what I want. I want the coach that can like get ready. Okay, we're going back-to-back weeks of Patino and Self. Or, and that's not possible, but you know what I'm saying, a matchup like that. And that's what he does. Say what you want about the regular season. He wins in March. And I think when you have a region of death like this, I want a guy that I know wins in March. Yeah. And so, that's probably our biggest disagree point in the entire thing. But
look at this. Seeds 1 through 5 in this region arguably have Hall of Fame coaches. Yeah. There's a couple of them that still have some work to do, but for sure you got Patino, you got Bill Self, and you got Tom Izzo. Those are locks, right? Yeah, Hurley's probably a Hall of Fame coach, and then Shire's on his way for sure at Duke. Yeah, so, I mean, run that gauntlet if you're a 6 seed through 16, right? I mean, just yeah. At some point, you're going to have to run through that, and I think that's one of the big storylines here. Whoever comes out of this one, I'm just going to tell you, is going to be a really good basketball coach that comes out of this. And it may be somebody. If there is an upset or two, then you never know who that next new coach could be. But it's kind of a gauntlet that they're having to run through. It's fascinating
for sure.
I'm going to side on the side, I think, of the old man here and go with Duke. I believe I have them. I don't think I've, in any of my brackets I filled out, I may have had UConn getting there, but I have Duke beating them.
Well, and I want to be clear.
Andrew, you've given me some reason to doubt that.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be clear. I'm not going to be surprised if UConn wins this region.
He's already backtracking.
I know they're good.
Hey, let's remember,
You
we
can look
apparently
at my
have
bracket.
a UConn following here, so
Yeah.
Upset's got to happen somewhere, man. And but we'll see. I'm anxious to see how it plays out for sure.
I can't get over the coaching in this thing, and I don't know that we've ever had this many coaches lined up in one region that are Hall of Fame caliber. Okay, let's move on here. Good stuff. That was the East region that we broke down here. Again, we are going through the NCAA bracket from the Press Box on the Right Team podcast with my good friend Matt and co-host, and then his son Andrew is joining us here, and we're having some good debate. Let's move on to the South bracket, where Prairie View, of course, earned the right to go to play Florida. Good for them, but they will be playing number 1 Florida. The Gators come into this one defending national champs. They are 35.5-point favorites. Any comments to that one other than it's been a good year. It's been a good year, Prairie View. Okay, that'll be one of our Texas teams that is out early, I would say. Okay, and then a little bit more of an interesting take here. I want to get from you guys, as I still have time to go change some of my brackets. But number 8, Clemson versus number 9, Iowa. Where are you guys on that?
I'm Clemson. I've watched a good amount of Iowa basketball this year, and Bennett Schertz is incredible. Very good basketball player. But I've watched the offense with a lot of wide eyes staring at Bennett Schertz to do things. And a lot of Bennett passes it, makes a cut right back to Bennett. And I think that that can win you a game. He's a very good player, but in my mind, he's not quite the level of player that you can just go out there and Bennett Schertz go win me an NCAA tournament game. And especially whenever Clemson's a good team, they're a good squad, and that's a lot. When that's your offense, it's easier to create a game plan to shut down one guy. And that's what I don't know. I watched them a couple times, and it was kind of just this is not a team. I don't remember at the time what seed they were. I think they might have been a little higher. So it was maybe they thought they might make a run, but I was this is not a team that I'm going to have going in March. It's just an offenses. When you have a guy like Darius Acuff or, any of Wagler at Iowa or, Boozer, Peterson, those guys, you can make a case that if they get hot, they can carry a team. I just don't think Bennett Schertz is really good. I just don't think he's quite that level, and their offense runs exclusively through him.
Yeah, look, this was a coin flip for me, so Andrew knows this. You probably picked up on it, David. I went with the metrics. Clemson's a little better defensively. Iowa's a little better offensively. Iowa's gap offensively is bigger than Clemson's gap defensively. Iowa plays in a tougher conference. I went with Iowa, but I'm not saying that because I think they're clearly the better team. I just went with the metrics.
Our second 5 versus 12 matchup of the podcast is number 12 McNeese. The Cowboys playing number 5 Vanderbilt from the SEC. That game taking place this afternoon at 2:15 on True TV.
Did you do it, Andrew?
I'm flipping back and forth between these two. It's funny you talk about how much of a numbers guy you are. I'm not, and Vanderbilt is a numbers team. They're a team the numbers tell you put them in the Final Four, not that, but and I'm not sold on them. I've watched Arkansas play them twice. They have good wins. They dismantled Florida in the SEC championship or SEC tournament. They're a good team, but me and my dad were talking about it. McNeese is one of the they're a poor man's Houston. They're going to go out there and they're going to foul, they're going to grab, they're going to beat the tar out of you. And if you get an officiating crew that decides, you know what, we're going to let them play tonight, who knows what could happen in this game. Where I'm at with it right now is I think I don't, and I'm not to jump ahead, but I really don't like the next game either, Kima. So I don't want to pick McNeese here because if Vanderbilt wins, they're gonna win the next game, and I don't want to lose a Sweet 16 team. So I might sit here and say I would not be surprised if McNeese wins, but I can't pick them because if Vanderbilt does win, they're gonna beat the next team. So I can't pick them if that makes sense.
You're protecting your bracket. I can see you do that.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. I went Vanderbilt. I think I agree with what Andrew said. Vandy is kind of a numbers team, but also you don't dominate Florida with numbers. You don't beat Tennessee twice just with numbers. Think maybe they beat Bama. I can't remember. So I watched McNeese in that SFA game, which was kind of an epic, maybe make your eyes bleed kind of game. Like it was like a triple
there.
Yeah, double or triple overtime. But like if McNeese has to make shots, they're not going to win. Vandy's at least got a couple guys that can make shots, and so when I'm going to pick an upset, I like to pick a team that it's like, they could get hot from three and just rain like three in a row, and then McNeese can't. McNeese is going to have to get real lucky to start raining threes, and so I'm going to take Vandy.
We move on to a 4 and 13 again here in the South region. You've got Nebraska and Troy. Do we need to spend any time on that, guys?
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Troy.
You're going with Troy.
I'm going with Troy in this one. They Troy's beat Akron, who we watched win the MAC, and Miami of Ohio is the fun team in the MAC, but Akron's the better team in the MAC. They're the better team there. They beat Akron. They have win over San Diego State, who's another good ball club. They went to triple overtime against USC early in the season, which I remember watching that game it was probably 1:30 at this point because it started in USC's time zone, and I'm having to be quiet as USC had to hit a half-court shot to win the game. So Troy had that game won. They're a team that can go out there and compete. They're a good. I mean, and Nebraska. We talk about teams arriving too early. Nebraska is not a basketball team. This success is if they win this game. That's why, like I alluded to earlier, they will lose to Vanderbilt if Vanderbilt wins. So like this, I like Troy winning this one.
Yeah, I flirted with that as well. There were two things that kept me in on Nebraska. One was really like Fred Hoiberg. Really think he's a good coach, and he's done it at high levels. Two, you know how many tournament games Nebraska's won in their history? They've never won a tournament game. They've never. I mean, at least
it's not going to start today.
Yeah, well, and I just feel like they're good. I mean, if they're in the Big Ten, they beat some good teams in the Big Ten. I just feel like the fact that they've got a good coach and somehow a 4 seed can play a chip on their shoulder and saying, no one thinks we can win this when they're like a huge favorite. I feel like this is the year they're getting a win. I'm with Andrew. I'm not putting them past Vanderbilt, but I like Nebraska. I'm going with them.
Okay. We have some differences of opinion there for a couple of these. It's getting exciting. All right, let's go to number 6 versus number 11. Let's see what you guys think about North Carolina against VCU in a game that tips off this evening.
Ooh, man, I'll start. And I may get burned because I had VCU as a dark horse last year, and they got walloped in the first round. I mean, I didn't have them going to the Final Four or anything, but I had them going to the second weekend. I'm not going to go that far this year, but I took a look at the metrics. Their metrics match up very well with North Carolina. VCU is a historically, I mean, a lot of people forget VCU as an 11 seed has made a Final Four before. They're a good basketball program. North Carolina, obviously, I still don't think they've quite, I mean, they've had time to adjust without Caleb Wilson, but they almost lost him twice. Like they lost him and then it looked like he was coming back and then they lost him again. Even though he never got back, he came back to practice. I like picking 11s. I've just always liked those 11s, so I'm taking VCU in that one.
Almost you'd think it might be a home court advantage for North Carolina with it being in South Carolina, but of course Virginia, is right there too. So I don't think that will have anything much to do with it.
I got North Carolina. They're without Caleb Wilson, but I remember watching. I was very interested to watch. This was a game, a couple, maybe not quite a month ago against Louisville without Caleb Wilson, and wanting to see how North Carolina was going to perform in that one. And that was they got punched in the mouth early. Louisville got up big on them, and kind of you're like, all right, is this who that? And then they fought back and won that game. And I do think Caleb Wilson's a phenomenal player, top 5 projected draft pick. Losing him, I mean that kills your tournament run. There's no way around that. But there's enough there to still beat VCU. I do think they'll handle VCU in this one, even without Caleb Wilson.
And part of this for me, it's what we both said before. You kind of talked about it, Andrew, with the Vanderbilt McNeese and how the second round was going to go. I know I'm picking the next team to win in the second round. It doesn't matter who they're playing. So I figured if I'm kind of up in the air on this, why not take the 11?
Gotcha.
Speaking of the next round, number 3 Illinois against number 14 Penn. The Illini almost a 26-point favorite.
Balkan University is going to get the job done here.
Yeah. Oh man, the Serbian mafia or whatever it is. Like,
never been a team with that many Viches on the team. It's Stojakovic.
So many, yeah, and all like 6'7" to 7 foot, but they can all shoot and they can all dribble, and it's like, what is this team? But Illinois had kind of a rocky end of the season, but I like them. They're one of the teams I think can win it all. I really feel like they can, so I'm for sure taking Illinois here.
When you have that much size, those little Penn's the fun team. We watched them upset Yale with that. Remind me, is TJ, isn't that his name?
TJ Powers, yeah.
Watched him score 46. And, that is the recipe to beating a team like this. When you have a guy that can hit a ton of threes. We watched Jack Golke do it a couple years ago with Oakland. That's the recipe. But it's just Illinois is so big. They should be getting every possession 2 shots at it if they don't score. So it's just whenever that's the case, like you can go cold and have an upset happen, but when you go cold and get the rebound again, it's like, all right, well then you have to go like catastrophically bad. So I don't really see this one having much of a chance.
And they have that Wagler guy. So
yeah, that guy, something about him,
Moving down the bracket here, number 7 St. Mary's. I'm interested to hear what you guys say about this one. St. Mary's at number 7. Playing our Texas A&M Aggies, who grabbed a 10 seed here. Where you guys stand on this one?
I'm going St. Mary's. It could kind of go either way. Obviously, a little much tougher conference for A&M. I've watched a handful of A&M games, and there's sometimes I'm like, who scores for you? Like, who makes shots for you? And but Bucky's done a great job. I got to give him credit. I did not see them making the tournament this year at all. And he goes 11-7 in the SEC. So again, like I say, with 7-10 games, I'm never in a 7-10 game going to say you're stupid if you pick so-and-so. This is a toss-up kind of game. I think the spread's 3.5, but St. Mary's, that conference is tough. They're a 3-bid conference this year. So, and there were a couple other feisty teams in there. And St. Mary's has an experienced coach who's done it a lot, and they can make buckets. So I went with them.
I got A&M. I'm a pretty big believer in those teams that, you have Gonzaga in the Mountain West, or not Mountain West, West Coast Conference. And they're kind of the outlier because they get the talent that the talent of a Power 4 school. Like, 5 stars go to Gonzaga. You have, your Jalen Suggs, your Chet Holgrams. I mean, Ike right there right now is phenomenal. But playing in those conferences and playing like in the Mountain West, I'm not a big fan of picking those schools because it's hard for me, in my opinion, to go from having like multiple games against teams that are irrelevant, like your Portland and Pacific, and to then like, okay, now I need to walk in and play an SEC school who in the SEC there's like Mississippi State, LSU, and like South Carolina, and if you're not playing them, it was a tournament team or a fringe tournament team, and so it's just I like the team that A&M game in and game out this year has seen championship caliber teams, whereas St. Mary's has seen Gonzaga, and that's I'm not a fan of teams. There's just a lot less experience and for them.
Okay. The only thing I'm going to say is Texas A&M to me has the feel of a team that's already peaked, and I think they may have peaked about mid-January to late January. And they've kind of been running on fumes. That's just the way I see it. They built and punched their ticket with a good January. Yeah. And they're one of those teams that I agree they can beat St. Mary's, but when does it stop? At some point it's going to stop because they've already hit their peak.
Yeah.
I see it.
And
moving on down to the next one here, again, this should be a short one. Number 2, Houston, a national finals runner-up last year. Of course, the Cougars facing number 15, Idaho. Any comments on that? No. I've got Houston in my going to the championship game. They're the team I have to do. Just that means
Houston is the team I have coming out of this bracket. I do have them in the Final Four. And to be honest, look, Florida is a team I think can win it. Houston, Illinois would be a fascinating game to watch if we get that in the Sweet 16, just because they're both physical, but in different ways. And Houston's who I've got coming out of here.
I've got Florida. I'm a believer as well that guard play wins it for you in March. I do, and I know you can make like Houston's guard play with Boogie Flan and Xavier Lee. Both guys, they're good players, but that's not quite what you would look at when you talk about guards leading you to March. And now I'm a believer in that until you have a front court of Thomas Huck, Alex Condon, and Ruben Chinyelu. There are 3 dudes there that. I mean, you look at Arkansas, they're a good team. I watched that game against Florida. They just if you don't have 3 legit rim protector or big defenders, you can't you don't have the size to it. They get a ton of offensive rebounds, and then say what you want about those guys. Like if you could get guards to catch in and out offensive rebound threes, everyone's 3-point percentage goes up by 20% when you can shoot it in and out 3-pointer. And they will you have 3 dudes who's averaging 12, 7, and 6 or 12, 8, and 6 rebounds for them. They're 3 that's massive size right there. And then when you complement that with guards, Boogie Fland, who he was hurt last year, but was back for the March Madness run. He's got the experience of playing in March. He made a run to the second weekend as a guard, and now you put him on a team with those guys. They're going to be tough to beat. They are a very, very good team. And I think that the size might overwhelm Houston a little bit.
Yeah, the only team I really felt confident physically that could combat that a little bit was Houston, just because guys like Tugler and Sanak, especially Tugler's just like one of those dudes that I'm like, I don't want to meet you in an alley somewhere. Like that dude is just like ferocious. And so but I got Houston and Florida in the regional final, so I just went with Houston.
I agree with Sanak or agree with Tugler, but the thing with Sanak is he's a freshman. These are all dudes that have been there. They're and not just as sophomores. These are grown men. And when you're a grown man down there fighting in the paint, you're going to lose as a freshman. It's just the reality of it.
Yeah.
I may be more athletic, stronger than you, but if I'm down there fighting with you in the paint, a grown man's gonna win that battle. And Florida has 3 good men, and because every team has a dude that can go down there and bang with you. But when you have 3 of them, it's a recipe that almost no team has an answer for.
Yeah.
And it just I don't know. And then you have mixed it with a very
Vanderbilt somehow in the SEC tournament. I don't even know what happened there. That was wild.
I think Florida knew they'd already clinched their spot, and it matters. But yeah, that's what I have.
Okay, that's the South Regional. We're halfway done here, boys. Let's move over to the West, back at the top of the bracket. Of course, East and South will meet in the Final Four, of course. And so, like I said, I have Duke and Houston, and you guys have major cases with your guys, your team. So let's move over to the other side of the bracket and start out West, where you have to get, and I was just sitting here thinking about this. You've got, and this is the only thing I think we probably could say about this one, Arizona and Long Island. I think we all agree that it's not worth talking about much, but how about the state of New York? I mean, you got Long Island, you got Queens, you got
Queens is North Carolina, sir.
Is it? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm okay.
I had the same conversation with him. Don't worry about it. It got me too. It got me too.
Well, look, I'm not going to take too much heat for that one because I'm probably along with 95% of the country who thought that was Queens, New York. So, okay. So, well, that kind of kills that point in its tracks. Anyway, we're talking about Long Island here, okay? But yeah, it's been a nice season for you guys, but you're playing Arizona, and I don't think we need to talk about that, do we, guys? Do you guys have anything to say about Arizona?
I'm just kind of shocked.
I'm national champion.
Yeah, I'm kind of shocked they sent Long Island out to where Arizona's playing. That seems like a bit of a bad idea.
Right? Travel the country.
Yeah. Anyway, but no, Arizona easily.
They will face in the second round the winner of number 8 Villanova and Utah State. This is an interesting matchup here. Wanted to get your guys' take on it. What do you guys think about Utah State in particular?
I need to see if we finally agree on an 8-9. Who you got, Andrew?
I got Utah State.
Hey, we agree.
I mean, this one, it's 2 teams who aren't really in the national spotlight. A lot of teams haven't, this one, I'll be honest, I haven't watched a ton of, I've watched more of Utah State because like we talked about other teams, they play at 10 p.m. and that's all the only basketball that's on at 10 p.m. So I've watched some of them, but I don't have much insight on this one. I have Utah State, but I mean, this is kind of, for me, the first one that I've truly felt just like I'm flipping a coin on it.
Yeah, I like teams that won their conference tournament, and I like teams that are playing with a bit of a chip on their shoulder. And you remember, David, Utah State was the only team I was more than 1 seed off of. I had them as a 9 or as a 7, and they're a 9. And I think their coach used something like the word atrocious, talking about their seeding. Like, whether it's manufactured or not, they have a chip on their shoulder. They're a hot team. I still like the Mountain West, even though it's a 1-bid conference. It's a feisty conference. So I'm going Utah State.
Another 5-12 here. Wisconsin and High Point. And full disclosure, in one of my brackets, I do believe I have picked High Point to win this one, but not in more than one.
I got Wisconsin. There's I was looking into, because High Point's only one of those trendy upset teams, so I decided I'd look into this one. And Wisconsin's played 5 teams that have the similar defensive or adjusted defensive rating as High Point, and they're 5-0 against those teams with an average margin of victory of 26 points per game. So I think High Point's defense is too bad that Wisconsin's just gonna. And so this is another one that I think kind of a trendy upset pick, and I think Wisconsin's just going to kind of boat race them.
Yeah, and another one of my brackets actually Wisconsin going to the Elite 8.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
Yeah,
that's a wide range of brackets. I know first round upset all the way to the Elite 8, right? Covering all your bases.
So, one of the kind of basketball stat guys I look at a lot is Evan Mayakawa on Twitter or on X, and Andrew, kind of speaking to a previous matchup we talked about. He says, "How does your team play up to competition level?" And he's got a whole graph plotted about opponent strength adjustment and team relative rating. It's a bunch of terms I don't fully understand, but anyway, he's got a group that is Cinderella upside who are capable of beating teams better than them, and one of them is Troy. He's also got a group of high ceiling, low floor, which means they play their best against the best teams, but they're more suspect against worse teams. Nebraska's in that one. So your Troy pick seems like a potential one there. Wisconsin is dead in the center of that one. Wisconsin is dead in the center of that they can beat Michigan, they can beat Illinois, they can beat Purdue, but then also they're suspect against some teams that aren't nearly as good as them. High Point last year got their first taste of the tournament. They made it. They were kind of a trendy pick last year. I believe they were a 12 or a 13. It got murdered. If you'll remember, 2 years ago, McNeese State was a very trendy pick as a 12. They got destroyed. They came back last year as a 12 and they beat Clemson. I'm taking High Point. I completely agree with what Andrew said. It doesn't make much sense. Most of these upsets don't. I know who I'm taking in the next round anyway, so I went High Point.
By the way, they're also from North Carolina, in case anybody's wondering where High Point is.
I had them in New York. Dang it.
Okay. There's not a whole lot to talk about with this next one, but I know you guys have something to say with your beloved Hogs taking on the Rainbows, I believe, of Hawaii. I'm a little bit guys, tell me what you think about this point spread. 15.5. That's significant, but with all some of these others that I'm seeing, does Vegas not believe in your guys?
I will tell you this. It is the largest spread of any 4-13 matchup. Kansas is 14.5. Nebraska is, let's see, right now 12.5. And then Alabama, of course, well, there's a whole lot going on there. They're 11.5. So, 4-13. Maybe you could expect it a little higher, but at the end of the day, every other 4 seed's a smaller favorite than we are. I like Hawaii.
What about Hawaii specifically keeps it in that 14 to 15 range, do you guys think? Where to me, I'm thinking, the SEC champ coming off of the way Arkansas has been playing lately, I would be pushing that. And again, I want to always preface this and say we don't encourage anyone to bet on any of this. We're just using it for talking purposes, right? We don't bet, but 18 to 20.
Yeah.
What is it about Hawaii that's keeping that down, or am I inflating Arkansas's value too much?
This is coming from a student at the University of Arkansas, and I've been in one family my whole life. The publicity we're getting right now is a little overhyped, in my opinion. When you look at how we ended the year, we ended it on a, what was it, 6-game winning or 5-game winning streak? Was that right? 5.
I believe that's right. Yeah.
So the games that we won, it was at home with Texas, which that's one we should have won. It's on the road with Missouri, and that one was without Darius Acuff, so that's a good win. But
yes,
on the road without Darius Acuff. And then you go into the SEC tournament, and it was Oklahoma, Ole Miss, and Vanderbilt. Of those 3 teams, only one of them is even a tournament team. So when you look at the last 5 games, realistically, as a Hog fan, I would have expected, if we'd gone anything other than 4-1, that would have been a bad stretch of basketball. So all that we did was slightly do better than expectations. And now, but it was because it was the SEC tournament. It was because it was to end the year. We're getting the hype, and I understand it. But looking at it, we are a very good team, and I think you can make a case we have one of if not the best guards in the country. So I'm not going to sit here and say we can't make a run at it, but the hype is stemmed from these last 5 games. And these last 5 games were all ones that I'm sitting here like we probably should have won them. And now you guys, we took care of business. That's what you could say. We took care of business. That's what you can't do anything other than what we did. But it's not like what we did was insanely impressive, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think I agree. And I think a lot of the hype's just Acuff. I think Acuff is he's one of those dudes. I mean, like you can't say enough about him and feel like you're going overboard. But I will say Hawaii plays in the Big West. Last year, another trendy upset pick that did live up to it. They didn't pull it off, but UCSD, Cal San Diego, trying to remember, were they playing Michigan in the first round? Yeah, took them to the wire, had the lead late. The Big West plays a very clean brand of basketball, but Hawaii's got kind of a couple guys that are uber athletic, so I'm sure that's playing some role in it, but I think it has more to do with the fact that we have Darius Acuff.
Hawaii is a very good rebounding team as well, if I remember correctly. They're the one thing you'll say about Arkansas is we don't rebound the ball very well, so there might be that aspect of just the rebounding battle. But the interesting thing now, just because this is the game I've looked in the most because it's my team, the way that Hawaii plays defense, they play a man defense with no help. They don't switch. They don't give up 3-pointers. They play no help defense. And if they decide to stick truly to the no help defense, we may get to see a historic night from Darius Acuff because no one in the ACC has been able to stay in front of him. And you want me to believe that there's a guy in Hawaii that can stay in front of him. But with the return, if he's decided to switch to a zone defense, then we have 2 40-plus three-point shooters that, by all means, let him shoot. But I don't think it'll be close.
I don't either. Which is why I think that point spread's a little low.
Yeah, I agree. I could see that.
Okay, let's move down to the bottom half of the West bracket. This is one, of course, that impacts me greatly. Number 6 BYU against the best team in the land that just hasn't shown it yet. The number 11 Texas Longhorns, who already have a win in the tournament. It's an official win, at least in my book, last night in a grueling matchup against North Carolina State. Of course, you guys give me your take on this one and be gentle.
Is there any chance Debansa's not playing?
I mean, BYU.
That's gentle. What you're saying? That's gentle.
BYU is that I don't know if it'll end up happening because a lot of times NBA guys can look way too far into things with analytics and whatnot. But BYU has the best player in the country, in my opinion. Debansa is pound for pound. You look at guys like Boozer is phenomenal, but he uses a lot of his size. The stuff Debansa does is like, wow, you're really skilled and you're that big. It's not just you're lowering your shoulder into someone. And losing Richie Saunders is a blow. But, I mentioned earlier, Bennett Sturt's not being a guy that can carry a lower seed. Debansa is a guy that if he is on, he can carry a team to the Final Four. And you mix in Rob Wright. You mix in Rob Wright's there as well. And I don't know, BYU, I got BYU in this one and actually going pretty far.
Yeah, I tell you what, you and I talked about this a little bit, I think, David, Monday when we broke this down, just kind of looking at the bracket. But the potential for BYU Gonzaga in the next round, former WCC rivals before BYU jumped to the Big 12. I find that fascinating. I got BYU. And I want to say this. I think Sean Miller did a fantastic job with Texas this year. I would not have put them on my radar as a tournament team. He got them there with some good wins. You and I talked yesterday, David, about the win over North Carolina State, a game that looked like it was getting away and they were about to blow it. And Tremont Mark, who I was so happy for, made some major plays. In a game where it might be a little equal, but one team clearly has the best player, I'm going to go with that team. So I'm taking.
I think that's the difference. I really do. I think not only the best player on the floor, probably, as you said, maybe the best player in the country, who is going to be one and done for sure. And I talked about it a little bit on yesterday's show, but this don't discredit this long, that long cross country flight and getting into Portland and what that means coming off of a game, a very emotional game on Tuesday, and then having to get up and play a team led by AJ Debanza. And again, I'm horns to the core. You know that, and everybody knows that listens to this podcast. And again, I've filled out 4 brackets, and the only bracket where I have them advancing in this is the one that I always fill out, where I always just pick the lower seed, just to see the percentages of all of that. That works out in the end, right? Lower seeds defeating higher seeds. That's the only one that I have Texas winning this one. So do what you will with that one. Call me a bad fan or whatever, but I agree with you guys. I think our run ins here. Yeah, I think that point spread's a little low, to be honest. It's 2.5.
Yeah. That'll give you a little pause there.
Yeah. So when we get back together again on Friday, this one will be over, I'm afraid, as they play tonight. So, okay, moving on down to number 3. This is another interesting one I want to get you guys' take on as far as a team with number 3 Gonzaga against number 14 Kennesaw State. Where do you see Gonzaga fitting into this one? I didn't realize they were 31-3 until I looked at their record today.
Yeah, Andrew, does Kennesaw have a shot in this?
I don't think so. I mean, you talk about we talked about all the guards and everything, and I do believe in March though, when you're playing the smaller schools, that's when a true big. It's just they typically don't have an answer for that. And Grandma Ike at Gonzaga is a phenomenal basketball player. He's a brute. He's a huge man, and Kennesaw State is not going to have a guy out there that can really that can guard him. And so I think it's just going to be one of those things where as long as Gonzaga doesn't go insanely cold from everywhere else, they should handle this game pretty easily.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I got Gonzaga.
What do you think about the next round between Gonzaga and BYU?
I got BYU.
Me too.
I have this goes back to what I talked about of teams not playing competition, and that's Gonzaga. I feel like this Gonzaga team is good, don't get me wrong, but it's not up there with those teams of previous years that made Final Four runs. And when you have guys that aren't that insanely good, the not playing competition for a long time, I think, does catch up to you. And you have BYU who's been in the Big 12 battling all year. I think these games are going to feel like you have BYU who's been used to a big Monday against Arizona, and then their Saturday off game is Texas Tech, and it's like that's been their life. And they're telling me, and this is no slam against Texas and Gonzaga, but I mean that's a weekend of a 1 seed into a 5 seed, and you're telling me I get to wait I get to go to 11 and a 3. That's a lot better than it's been. So I think that they might I think BYU is better than what their seed is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just a spoiler alert, I have BYU in my Elite 8.
As do I.
So it's kind of put the damper on these next couple of games because we've already showed our hand, right? But to have number 7 against Miami of Florida against number 10 Missouri. I'm just going to start this one off, and I know I've been trying to let you guys run with this, but you guys will have to explain to me the seeding of Missouri while my boys had to play in a play-in game. Am I missing something about Missouri's, particularly the way they ended the season?
I had both Missouri and Texas in a play-in game. So I think it has more to do, less to do with Texas, more to do with Miami of Ohio. I thought, out of respect for Miami of Ohio, they would maybe, and the job they did, maybe not put them in the play-in, maybe have them as one of these 10 seeds, and instead they bumped them into the play-in. And so the team that was the best of the play-in teams for me was Missouri. And so I guess that's what they decided. I mean, Missouri
they had one over Florida.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's the biggest thing right there.
Texas's best win. I'm looking through it right now. They beat Bama. That's a good win for Texas. And but once you get past that, it's a lot of just the middling SEC wins that everyone has.
And I think Missouri beat Vanderbilt too, and maybe Tennessee.
Yeah,
beat Vanderbilt as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just that Florida win's kind of, I think, what moves the needle. Very few teams can sit there and say, I got to win against Florida. I mean, they're 1 seed. So I think that's kind of the one right there. That
And they finished with a winning record in the SEC, and it wasn't that much better than Texas's, but I think you're really getting down into nickels and dimes here, and that's just sort of how it worked out.
What about this particular game against Miami?
I got Missouri. I think Mark Mitchell's really, really good. I watched him play. No, and it's skewed because Arkansas's front court's pretty bad. But I watched him play against us a couple times, and he's a dang good ball player, and they're pretty good. That's just I don't have a ton on this one. I haven't seen a ton of Miami, but I know what I have seen of Missouri, and I like them in this one.
Yeah, I went the other way with Miami. It's just a team that we haven't talked about. They kind of under the radar went 13-5 in the ACC. They were the 3 seed. And down the stretch, I mean, you're talking about a win over Louisville, a win at North Carolina State, a win over North Carolina. They really just sort of found themselves in February and March. And so, but kind of like with Andrew, I don't have a lot on this game. It's just sort of a gut feeling. And I don't like Missouri. So, that might have played into it as well. I don't know.
Okay, here's another quick one, I'm sure. Number 2, Purdue against number 15, Queens, wherever they're from. I don't think it's going to make a big difference, right? 25.5 point spread on that one. I asked Matt earlier in the week, Purdue kind of slipped up on me, and I know they won the Big Ten tournament. I was not expecting them to grab a number 2 seed out of all of that based on what I knew and had seen all year, but he broke it down for me and convinced me that it was legit.
Yeah, and this is where we're going to differ a little bit because I got Purdue winning this, but y'all got BYU in the Elite Eight. I got Purdue in the Elite Eight. In fact, I got Purdue coming out of this one. I like guys that have been together, and they got 3 dudes that have not only been to a national championship game with the Giant Zach Edey, but they got 3 dudes that were also there when they lost as a 1 seed to a 16. They have been almost to the highest high, and they've been at the lowest low of NCAAs. And one of them, by the way, is a point guard who averaged 11 assists a game in the Big Ten tournament as they won the championship. So I've looked at the metrics. Purdue is kind of on the cusp of being one of those kind of elite teams. I can see Arizona coming out of this. I can see Arkansas coming out of this. But I don't know. I was really high on Purdue in like January and early February. And you remember this, David, we talked about it. They had a rough patch. And I was like, okay, clearly I wasn't thinking right, or there was just something I wasn't seeing. Well, you know what? I'd rather hit my rough patch in early February because they're not in a rough patch anymore. The tournament run they had beating Nebraska, UCLA, and Michigan was no joke. And so, yeah, I love guards that can control a game. I love guards that have been punched in the mouth a little bit and know what it's like to bleed and get back up. And so I'm going Purdue out of this region.
So, all right. There's not many times in your life, if you're not a fan of a blue blood, that you can sit here and pick your team to come out of a region and they actually have a real shot. So I looked at it at first and I was like, you know what, I'm probably going to pick Arkansas just because, I can. But the more I've looked into it, of the 1 seeds and so Arkansas's struggles is our front court. Obviously, we can go guard for guard with anyone in the nation. Some NBA teams, our problem is the front court. And when you look at the 1 seeds, you have Boozer as a big, gonna kill us. You have Lindenborg as a big. Yeah, I mean, he's not quite a big, but he's a 6'8", like he's a bruiser. He's gonna kill us. You have We talked about it. All of
Yeah.
Florida. Arizona, they have a center, and he's a good center, very good. I'm not taking anything away from him, but the offense doesn't run through him. It's Barry Braxton, however you say his name. It's the guy that won Player of the Year for them. It's Koa Pete
Bradley.
and
Yeah.
Bradley. I slipped my mind, but those are all phenomenal players, but they're not bigs. And like I said, if you want to go guard for guard with us, I'll go guard for guard with anyone in the nation. We have, and so if we can get by air once, obviously in Wisconsin, we talked about them. I mean, this is all assuming we get by Wisconsin as it is. But if you
it doesn't
can
matter, they're losing a High Point, so
right,
fine.
exactly. But if you can get by Arizona, at that point, it's anybody's game. Because if you get by Arizona, at that point, you're in the Elite Eight, and you sit down with Darius Acuff and say, "I need you to go win me 3 ball games," and you're telling me Darius Acuff can't go win someone 3 ball games. Yeah. So what started out as my team has not been this good in my life, I'm going to pick them, has now turned into, I think I bought into it. I might have convinced myself. Who knows? Arizona's a phenomenal team. If we lose to Arizona, I'll probably actually be surprised if we beat them, but that's what I'm going with. I'm going to say Arkansas.
Yeah.
Okay. We're coming into our last bracket here as we get into the Midwest. Really not probably a lot as far as much of a discussion about this particular number 1 versus 16, Michigan versus Howard, which punched their ticket with a win in the first 4 yesterday. Tell me what you think about Michigan overall, as they get ready to make this run, which I believe is going to end in the Final Four.
Yeah, I think the only thing we can ask about Michigan and Howard is how many kill shots is Michigan going to go on during that game. They've been a team that this year that I talk about. I'm not a big analytic guy. Their analytics make not big analytic guys look at analytics. They their numbers are they're ridiculous. If I want to talk about how far they're going to go, I think they're going to win the whole thing. I mean, he asked it. I'm not trying to jump ahead, but
I can't believe we're the same. I can't believe we're the same.
Have we done all of this just to get to that?
I can, because I can believe it because your analytics are. If you believe in analytics, you have to pick Michigan. But you look at their losses this year. It's a loss against Duke. That's a championship caliber team. It's a loss against Wisconsin, in which Wisconsin shot like 48% from 3 on 30 attempts. Like, anyone's going to lose to a team that does that. And then it's a loss in my mind in the Big Ten championship, in which they knew what they had in the tournament was solidified, and Purdue was fighting for something. At this point, every game Michigan plays in, they're fighting for the same thing the other team's fighting for. No team will have the edge that Purdue had in that game. Yaxel Lindenborg, phenomenal. Michigan center, very good. I mean, they're as complete of a team as it gets. It's crazy to say, because last year we had all 4 1 seeds in the Final Four, but I'll go out there and say I don't think the seeds last year can really hold a candle to the 1 seeds this year, and that's crazy to say because all 4 of them made it. But the 1 seeds this year are phenomenal. Like, they're in Michigan. Or you'll have to remind me who got the number 1 overall seed. Was it Duke? Duke got it, but Michigan in my
just reminding you have not making the Final Four.
Correct. Dan Hurley. But Michigan is they're just so good. They're one of the best basketball teams I've seen in a long time.
Well, and I'm going to tell you another reason I really like Michigan, and this isn't always true, but sometimes it is. They had a loss to kind of recenter a little bit, and I like that sometimes. Of course, it's that applies to Florida too.
Let me add something real quick. I saw a stat that I can't remember the years. I think it was either like the last 5 or 10 years that there have only been 4 teams to make the Final Four that won their conference championship. And that kind of goes right with what you're saying. And last year was one of the years because there's all the 1 seeds made it, but that's just that loss kind of. You're right. That loss kind of recenters everyone, and it kind of takes the pressure off of like, okay, we've won 12 in a row, and let's make it 13. Let's make it 14. It just makes it, let's win today.
Yeah.
Michigan's lost 3 games this year by an average of 5.3 points.
Yeah.
That's a couple of buckets.
Right.
I mean, they're that close to being undefeated. So
Yeah.
I'm just kind of busting your chops here a little bit. I do think, although I do have Arizona as my champion, Michigan, if they didn't play them in the Final Four, would be my other final team.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a toss up, right? So now you've got me. I'm going to go fill out another bracket and have Michigan win. Cover my bases there. Number 8, Georgia versus number 9, St. Louis.
I don't really.
I took St. Louis.
I took Georgia to keep form with my philosophy of teams that have played a tougher schedule tend to do better. But I don't really know. I'll be honest.
I look at the conference they're from. That's what I go with.
Yeah, the A10, the A10s. I mean, they have VCU as well, who you love over there, Dad. But
well, I went with my philosophy of taking teams that have unathletic white dudes in goggles. So, like
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
That's right. That's right.
Kurt Rambis.
Yes.
Okay. I know you guys have some thoughts on this next one. Did y'all both go Georgia on that one?
No, I took St. Louis.
Okay, so you're split on that one. Okay. Just want to make that clear. Number 5, the Texas Tech Red Raiders against the number 12 seed, and we've mentioned them already, Akron. Andrew, give us your take on this one.
This is the last.
I know your dad's allegiance is to Texas Tech.
Yeah, this is the last of, in my opinion, the games where people that don't watch a lot of basketball are going to look at Akron's record. They're going to look at the fact that they won the tournament. They're going to look at the fact that Texas Tech had an All-American who is no longer playing with them. And I feel like the public's going to be on Akron. Texas Tech is phenomenal with or without JT Toppin. They have a win against Iowa State and played BYU without both. They were kind of on that sea line where I was looking for Arkansas. Like, okay, can we jump them? And I'm looking at like, okay, well, they're going to lose to Iowa State. So that'll be beat Iowa State. Like, okay, well, they're going to lose BYU. That one shouldn't be close. They do lose to them, but they were right there until the very end. And all of this is without JT Toppin. Texas Tech's going to whoop Akron. And I think that's going to be the game kind of like last year where, everyone's like, oh, well, did you know that they're missing their All-American? And did you see Akron's record? And Texas Tech lost in the first game they played. And it's like, it doesn't matter. Texas Tech is so much better than Akron. Christian Anderson, phenomenal.
Yeah. The only thing that gives me pause on this is that the line is the lowest of the 5-12 games. And I do think Akron is a pretty solid squad. You and I have talked about that, Andrew. We think they're probably the best team out of the MAC, even though the most deserving team out of the MAC was Miami of Ohio. But this one just screamed. The more I looked at it, because I really did think I was going to pick Akron, the more I looked at it, it just seemed too obvious. Sometimes it just seems too obvious. And I think back, we talked about it a moment ago, 2 years ago, McNeese State. It was just everybody was like, there it is. That's your 5-12. And they just got clobbered. I don't even remember who beat them. But they got clobbered. Oh, yeah. Gonzaga destroyed them. That's right.
And
so
let me
I'm going Texas Tech as well.
You talk about the spread in this one. That's so being someone who from time to time has partaken and I don't talk about we don't condone it, but from time to time has partaken in that. That is it's a trap line because what they'll do with that is we just talked about the whole world is looking at Akron and wants Akron. So it doesn't matter what the spread is in that game. People are going to take Akron. Doesn't matter. Yeah. The true line in that game might be, what did you say it was 12.5?
No, I think it's like
7.5.
Yeah.
Okay, 7.5. The true line in that game might be 10.5, 11.5, but Vegas knows the public wants Akron to win. The public thinks Akron's going to win, so they'll take him at 7.5. They'll take him at 6.5. So they don't have to really give you what the real spread is in that one because the public wants Akron to win, so they're going to take Akron to win. Yeah. And so I think the true spread in that game probably is closer to 10, 11, 12 points, but it's just one of those games where Vegas knows they're going to do it either way, so let's make it more in our favor.
But also, let's be clear, David, we need Tech to win in our house. we do not want Akron. Let me tell you, last year, of course, my wife is Texas Tech. I got both boys by next year will be up at Arkansas. Arkansas played Texas Tech. we're the three of us are watching in the living room. Wife's watching it in the bedroom because Arkansas is killing Texas Tech. Tech comes storming back. They beat us. And to be honest, it was one of these deals where I was kind of torn because I was like, okay, do I want my son to be really angry or do I want my wife to be really angry? And it's just, I'm so glad we can't meet till the Final Four this year, because if we do, I don't think any of us is going to care, win or lose. We got to the Final Four.
Well, I hope Kelly doesn't think less of me with this one. This was the 5-12 I picked for Akron.
Yeah.
One of those people. So I hope maybe she won't listen to this and you guys don't have to tattle on me. But I saw this and the injuries and kind of looking back at Tech and this was the one I said, okay, if I'm going to throw a Hail Mary, this is the one I'm going to pick. So
yeah,
I'm laying it out there for you guys. Okay, speaking of Hail Marys here, number 4, Alabama, which has had a rough week.
Golly,
That's one way to put it.
Against number 13, Hofstra. That is a New York school, right? I have that right.
Think so.
Yeah, and so and Matt and I have talked about this already about the potential distraction that the Crimson Tide is facing this week. But we have our theories on that as well. I believe as you know, I've heard this and I kind of believe it. You know, they've kicked him off campus for at least one game. Against Hofstra. But anyway, any chance Hofstra is able to take advantage of, maybe a distracted ball club Friday?
I don't think so. Yeah, I know. So this was what, 2, 3, 4 years ago. I can't remember how long ago with Brandon Miller at Alabama, which was a much bigger distraction than this. And
They're kind of getting used to it over there. It may not be a
right.
big deal.
That's what I was alluding to. I think that Bama kind of head coach here knows what, like, he's walked through this before in a much grander scale, so he'll be able to handle it all right. And it's really, really funny because, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Dad, you have Alabama here winning, right?
I do.
So in the next round, we talked about Texas Tech and them losing and it not mattering against Akron. Well, I was like, well, I do think it will matter against Bama, but now I'm like, well, Bama's lost someone, and Texas Tech's had more time to adjust to their lost person. I'm in a blender with this. The next round, I think, is the bigger question there because both teams have lost a key player.
Yeah,
and Texas Tech's is more valuable, but Bama's was more like sudden with less time to adjust. So it's like, that's the one that I genuinely am at a loss still. I have no idea who's going to win that one. I think we kind of agree on Bama right now, but
can we just talk about the fact that Bama had an incident where a player is charged with a felony? He had over 2 pounds of marijuana, and you, Andrew, just accurately stated that this can't hold a candle to what they went through a few years ago. What are we doing in Tuscaloosa? Nick Saban, come back. Like, everything needs you right now. Like, I don't know. It's crazy. But yeah, I think Bama is going to circle the wagons and get through this first one. I think moving forward, it's going to be really hard to pick Bama after this. Maybe against Tech or Akron. I've got them against Tech. I've got Tech winning that game, but you can't look at it, Andrew. Let's talk Arkansas. Darius Acuff's the man. LeBaron Philon is the man at Alabama. Well, if Arkansas lost Malik Thomas, I'm feeling really bad. Really bad.
Arrested.
Yes, especially if he got arrested. Yes.
I'm feeling even worse if he's in jail.
and as David and I said, the thing that really has me upset is this failure to fix a tax stamp. I mean, this is just this is egregious. I don't understand what it is, but it sounds horrible.
He's doing a disservice to his country. He's not a true-blooded American, not paying his taxes. I don't know.
Yeah, something like that. Good golly.
Business taxes. Excuse me. Okay. I was going to make the point here before we move on that for a team that seemed to have such bad luck down the stretch with Texas Tech and injuries, right? They may have got a really good draw here.
Might have.
to the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
You know, if they're depleted, you would want to face a depleted Alabama team, right? This may be the best draw they could have had in their situation.
Yeah.
I do want to point out, Andrew, you know, I told you Troy was in Mayakawa's circle of Cinderella. Hofstra's in that circle too. But I'm still going Bama, but I'm not going to be sitting here stunned. In fact, I am hoping and praying that Hofstra and Bama are coming down to the wire, because that I would love every single second of that.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Okay, I've been stalling a little bit here to get to this number 6 seed against TBD because, full disclosure again, as we are recording this, it's Wednesday night, and I've actually been watching the Miami, Ohio, and SMU game. I was hoping that one of them would pull away, and they really haven't at this point. So, Tennessee is still playing TBD. Do you think the TBD has a better shot to beat Tennessee than SMU or Miami of Ohio, or how do you guys see those potential, matchups as we sit here today?
Well, at the time we're at right now, Miami, Ohio's up 8 points. So I've watched a lot more of them than I have of SMU. So for the sake of this, I'm going to say Miami, Ohio wins this game, so that way I can talk about it a little better. Whoever it is, in my opinion, is Tennessee, but especially if it's Miami, Ohio, I'm going to get some flack for saying this, but they are a bad team. They are. We talk about, I don't get into metrics unless it's, Michigan is the high of it. Miami of Ohio is low. They are, if they weren't America's sweetheart and went, 30-1 and everyone loved them, they wouldn't even be close to a tournament team. They have no business being in it other than it's like, well, you won 30 games. I guess we should probably give it to you. But they're not good. There's a lot of no quad 1 wins. Only one quad 2 win, correct? Against Akron?
Yeah, and this is their first quad 1 game.
Right.
Period, that they're playing right now.
And then you mix in, there's a lot of quad 3 and quad 4. And it'd be one thing if those quad 3 and quad 4 is like, yeah, we handled it. No. Every night you're like, oh, what? Like their coach is going to have a heart attack from Bowling Green and Toledo and Western Michigan. And it's like, if you're going to play that week of a schedule, you need to go through it and handle business. And they did not. So it's right now, 10 minutes to go, they're up 10 points. If that stays as it is, I think Tennessee is going to kick their butts.
Yeah. And David, you'll like this analogy. Miami of Ohio being in this tournament reminds me of Oklahoma being in the college football playoff. I don't think Oklahoma was a college football playoff team, but you had to put them in. Their resume was such, you had to put them in, but I just don't think they belonged on the field, and they showed as much against Alabama. You had to put Miami of Ohio in. They earned their way in, I think, because if you set we talked about this, you set a dangerous precedent if you tell a team, hey, you can go 31-0, but if you trip up anywhere, and you know what? If they hold on to this and beat SMU, good on them. That is an impressive season, no matter what happens. They're actually up 13 right now. They're getting angry apparently as they listen to us talk about them. But Tennessee, look, I don't know that I've ever seen a 6 seed metrically and analytically that is as good as Tennessee. Tennessee is a solid, the only reason Tennessee's not a 4 or a 5 is they don't have enough lines. I don't have enough lines. I think they are a seasoned team with a good coach, an experienced coach. Yeah, he's got a history of flaming out in the tournament, but guess what? When you're a 6 seed, you can't really flame out if you get past round 1. Everything else, you're just kind of playing with house money. So I like Tennessee in this one.
I want to make a point. You talked about there's not enough lines, and this is something I've been thinking a lot. I think people going into this March Madness need to have a different mindset because when you look at March Madness, you're looking at the 14 seeds, the 13 seeds. Who's our Cinderella? Who's our future insurance salesman that's going to go win over everyone's heart? I see this one being completely different this year. I think that everyone hates a chalky tournament. I think this one's going to be incredibly chalky, but I don't know if you remember Oh, of course you remember, but last year's Final Four, how good those games were. They were incredible basketball games. And I think this year, when you're looking at how good the seed lines are, I think we might have a lot of chalk. Like Thursday and Friday may not be that much fun, but the incredible basketball is going to start in the Elite Eight, maybe even the Sweet 16. And you're telling me I get to look at the games we had last year in the Final Four? I get to see that in the second weekend? Like, sign me up. I would rather watch that than a 14 seed have a fun game and then get murdered by the team that's going to go on. And so, like, that's what I would advise, like, recommend any, like, to the casual viewer. Switch it from let me get ready to watch a bunch of upsets to because that's what you think of when March Madness. Let me get ready on that second weekend to watch some incredible games.
Yep.
Great point. That is a great point. You're wise for your years, Andrew. Okay. Let's move on here quickly to the bottom of the Midwest bracket. Number 3, Virginia against number 14, Wright State. Virginia comes into this one an 18.5-point favorite in a 3 versus 14 matchup.
I don't know that I was much a believer in Virginia until I saw how physically well they matched up with Duke in that ACC championship game. They had one dude that had 8 blocks, and let me tell you, Cam Boozer had his hands full. And so I probably look, Andrew, you know this, every year, pencil in Virginia for an upset, at least give it a look. I mean, they've lost as a 1 and as a 4 and as a 5. And I mean, this year I didn't even hesitate. I picked Virginia over Wright State.
Yeah, I picked them too. I'll never really forgive them the year that I picked them to win the whole thing and they lost as a 1 seed. So, like, I think it's kind of burnt my bridge with them. I remember that night me asking you, like, it's going to be all right, right? Like, yeah, don't worry. Yeah, don't worry. And then I come in there and you're like, hey, bud, you're screwed. I'm like, what do you mean I'm screwed? You told me don't worry. And so they win this game, but I don't think I've ever really forgiven them for that.
Yeah. Well, and then they go and win it the next year.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Okay. Couple more games to go here. Number 7, Kentucky, and number 10, Santa Clara.
You go first, Andrew.
What do you think about Kentucky?
This is the first 7 seed I have winning. I've gone 10s all the other ways. This is the first 7 I have. I think not quite to the extent, because you remember Arkansas was a 10 seed last year. I think Kentucky and Arkansas's 2 seasons are very similar. Me and Dad have talked about this a little bit, that, like, Kentucky is underperformed this year. There's no doubt about that. They expected more than this, but that roster is talented. There's no doubt about that. And you open up with a game against Santa Clara that, my whole philosophy that Kentucky's played a much tougher schedule. They'll be more equipped for that game. I think Kentucky's the better team. I think Kentucky handles this one pretty easily. And after we talk about this next game, I'll have to go in because this is my one region where my Sweet 16 is a little interesting. So, but yeah. I have Kentucky in this one.
Yeah, and Andrew, actually, I got to give him credit. He won me over on this one because I started thinking about it, and, like, I don't know if there's any team in America that needs to win their first round game more than Kentucky does.
Yeah.
I really, I mean, yeah, like, there's some teams that are heavy favorites. I'm not talking about them, like, but Kentucky, like, Mark Pope's in year 2, and you're watching John Calipari over there who you didn't fire him. He left you to go to a lesser SEC school, and now he's the SEC tournament champion, and he's got the SEC player of the year. And, oh, by the way, he's got a guy coming in next year who's rated even higher than that guy. And you're like, are we going to flame out to Santa Clara after a disappointing season? Kentucky's got to have this. And I do think Pope's a good coach, and I do think they're better than they've let on. And I'm going Kentucky. Andrew kind of won me over on this because I was originally going Santa Clara. I just Kentucky has not seemed to put it together. But you know what? He's exactly right. Arkansas didn't seem to put it together until pieces of February last year, and then all of a sudden, there they are, 2 minutes away from being in the Elite Eight. And John Calipari will tell you he thought they were going to the Final Four. He really thought they were. So there's a path for Kentucky here. There really is. So I'm taking them.
Yeah, I've learned if I ever have any doubts, I always go with the blue blood. I mean, this is their time of year, right?
Yeah.
Don't ever bet against them, even though I don't bet. Okay, final game of the night. We have reached it here, fellas, of the round of 64. Number 2, Iowa State against number 15, Tennessee State.
Next.
Great way to end it, right? We've got no next. That's it.
Yeah. Actually, I think
can Iowa State be a Final Four team? Can they come out of this bracket?
I'll let you take that, Andrew, because you said you had an interesting Sweet 16. Then I'll give my thoughts.
Well, so my Sweet 16 is through and through. You know, it's 1, 2, 3, 5, 1, 2, 3, 5, 1, 2, 4, 6, and then that one's 1, 5, 6, 7. I have both Tennessee and Kentucky winning. Tennessee beating Virginia, and Kentucky beating Iowa State. I've watched Iowa State. They're a very good team. They have some losing. I mean, BYU, good school. We talked about them. They're good. But BYU, wire to wire, beat Iowa State. Iowa State has a loss to TCU that we talked about earlier. Iowa State recently had a loss to Texas Tech after, they're a team that they have good offense, but their defense is what keeps them in. They can suffocate you on defense. And I don't want to say that defense doesn't win you games, because it does, but in March you got to be able to score the ball. That's been Houston's problem in other years where they don't have a prolific offense. It's well, when you go on that 6-minute dry spell, can your defense keep it up for you? And now Houston's, the pinnacle of it, so they typically can. But Iowa State, their defense isn't quite that good, and they'll go dead on offense. And to add to what you just talked about, they're desperate. They win that one. I have Tennessee beating Virginia, and then Tennessee going to the Elite Eight against Michigan, where they run into the buzzsaw. But this is my one region where I don't think it just kind of goes chalky. I think we have Tennessee, and no, I would say great team. They could. I'm not going to sit here and be like they're not going to do it. But I think those teams that have those dry spells on offense, they're not fit for March, because one dry spell where the other team goes on a 12-2 run, and then your season's over.
Yeah.
And they have a tough 7 seed to play. It's no shade to Miami and Missouri. They're good teams. But Kentucky's not either of those teams. Kentucky's significantly better. No shade to, it's
St. Mary's or A&M. Yeah.
Good teams. Kentucky's significantly better than both of them. Iowa State got the worst draw of any team with their 7 seed. And I think they get them.
And David, we're very similar in that. You said 1, 5, 6, 7. I'm 1, 5, 3, 7. Because I started looking at it, and David, you asked, can Iowa State, are they good enough to make the Final Four? They are. They have some of the best wins of anyone. Who could forget them beating Purdue by 30 in the non-conference? But let me just tell you, if you pick Iowa State in the Final Four, you're picking against history, and it's not even close. This is a team that's always good, but never good enough. I like them. They have always, Andrew and y'all hear me joke. I love their football program. I love their basketball program that we joke all the time. They're the real deal this year. That's kind of like every time that's a joke in our family. Is Iowa State the real deal? But for some reason, they just can't ever take that step. So, David, you were telling me we had some UConn people listening earlier at this week on a podcast. If we got some Iowa State people listening, I want to be clear. I love you and really would love to see you make the Final Four. I'm not picking you because it had never happened. And I just don't tend to pick against history. And so that's why I have Kentucky winning that one. But as you already know, we both had Michigan coming out of this one.
Okay. That's game by game, every one of them, guys. Final thoughts? Anything you want to add here?
I apologize for how many I missed. I was so inaccurate. You can throw that up afterward. That'll be fine.
Yeah.
No, this is fun.
Bracket's busted already.
Yeah, look, this is my favorite time of year. I'm just real brief. I remember in elementary school in Little Rock, I always prayed when Arkansas almost always made the tournament that it was during the day because all our teachers were going to stop class and we were going to watch the game. I have
explains a lot.
memories. I have memories of being in high school. I had a TV a little bit bigger but way thicker than my phone that I snuck into high school, and in every class I went to, I asked to go to the bathroom, and I came back with reports to my classmates. I'll never forget one year in high school, just the rumor spread that Pepperdine had beat Michigan, and I mean, I was at an all-boys school, Catholic high school in Little Rock. The buzz in that place was crazy. And then I get home and find out they don't play till 7:30. This is the world without phones. Like they hadn't even played yet that day. But that was just kind of how it went. Andrew can tell you, I checked my boys out on Thursday in school. Like we're doing this. This is what we do.
For reference, my spring break starts Monday. I'm home right now. It's pretty well cemented in my family.
So it's genetic, is what you're telling me. It's genetic.
It's a tradition. We're going home. We're getting either Little Caesars or Wingstop tomorrow. We're gonna have 4 TVs set up in the living room, and we're not gonna leave the living room until it's time to go get dinner, and that's whoever draws the short straw.
That's right. That's right.
I could dinner when I couldn't drive, and it had to be you, but that's besides the point.
Yeah.
There was no coin toss.
Yeah.
How does little brother fit into this?
Oh, he'll be there. Well, not to get all into local news and everything, but he has no school tomorrow. So he doesn't have to be checked out.
And it's not because of the NCAA tournament. We'll just put
that's
it that
right.
way.
That's right. So in fact, Andrew, I'm telling you, we may have to go down to Carthage to get that food, but we'll figure it out.
It's all right. It's all right. Yeah, he's just
Well,
a little quieter.
If you guys need a shower or anything over the next couple of days, just holler at me. We got a couple of them over here you can borrow.
We don't shower.
We're out
during
in
this time.
Gill, baby. We
don't shower at all.
Water supply. We
don't shower during March Madness. We just watch
I can respect
basketball.
that. I can respect that. I can respect that for sure. Well, guys, it's been fun. I really do appreciate your insight. It actually was way more than I was even expecting, and I was expecting a lot because Andrew, and hopefully you listen to us more often than not. And your dad is very knowledgeable about this stuff, and it was hard to find someone who could match him, and I think you did.
I mean, I'm my father's son.
That's right. You are definitely a chip off the old block. But anyway, that's the way we see it, whatever that's worth, on the Right Team podcast here. I did want to finish up, as we always do, with the final word of the day, which is from 1 Chronicles 16:11. It says, "Seek the Lord and his strength, seek his face always," even as you're watching basketball, guys. When life gets busy or overwhelming, don't drift. Always seek the Lord. His strength is always available when we stay connected to him. I think we can agree on that. I'm David, and he's Matt, and he's Andrew, joining us here today. I want to thank him all the way, coming in just for the podcast today, and of course basketball this weekend, from Fayetteville, Arkansas. This is from the Press Box on the Right Team podcast. Again, I want to thank you all out there for listening and supporting our show from the heart of the East Texas Piney Woods. You can help us out by liking and subscribing to the podcast wherever you find us, as well as our YouTube channel, the Right Team Podcast. We're just getting started with content that has something for everyone, hopefully, so make sure you don't miss an episode. Once again, a big thank you to our podcast sponsors today, Styles Electric, East Texas Baptist University, and Right Team Services. We'll be back tomorrow from the Press Box, and until then, have a great Thursday. Enjoy a little basketball, and as always, keep writing your story.
This episode of the Right Team podcast is also brought to you by Styles Electric. For over 25 years, Styles Electric has been providing reliable, professional electrical installation and repair service all throughout East Texas and beyond. We specialize in industrial and commercial projects of all sizes. We are proud to be a part of our communities and schools here in East Texas. Contact us today at 903-236-2536. That's Styles Electric, reliable, professional, and experienced.
The college you choose plays a defining role in what you believe, how you think, and who you become. With over 45 undergraduate programs and 14 graduate programs, East Texas Baptist University offers a transformational, Christ-centered educational experience that challenges students in mind, body, and spirit. 99% of students attending ETBU receive some form of financial aid, making opportunity accessible and affordable at ETBU. Join the Tiger family. It's not too late. Apply today at etbu.edu/apply.
Did you know that someone somewhere is talking about you? Yes, your school district, your business, your church, your nonprofit group is always the subject of a conversation somewhere. Maybe it's Facebook gossip, maybe it's talk around the water cooler, maybe it's written in a newspaper or a blog somewhere. At Right Team Services, we work with you to manage that conversation more effectively, to give all of your stakeholders an opportunity to hear your message. We help you create a culture of transparency in your organization that makes your customers and stakeholders feel comfortable as part of the story, and as a result, will help your business or school district become a more effective, trusted member of your community. Contact me today at rightteamservices@gmail.com to learn more about how Right Team can help you tell your story.